So a little while back, we did a video specifically talking about 5 things that you need to keep in mind if you're going to get into serious action figure collecting. I still stand by all of those things, even though I did have a disagreement that came down to something particular, and we're going to talk a little bit about that right now. So on that video, I talked about 5 things. One of those things that I specifically mentioned was street dates. And I guess I wasn't 100% clear on what I was talking about because I did have a major disagreement where somebody kept telling me that I was saying street dates don't exist. Where I thought for sure after explaining it for 10 minutes that I'd gotten across what I was trying to say. Street dates for toys do not exist in the same way that they do for other things, other collecting hobbies. If you have a street date in terms of video games, you know when it's going to come out. And it's pretty reliable, spot on to the day for most time. Now that's not saying that you won't often come across something that's already on the shelf that's not supposed to be there. That happened with me years ago with a Mario Party that was out. Like my daughter was 3 years old and we found one in the store and I picked it up and I thought for sure it was fine because the kiosk was up and everything, so I took it to the front of the store and they said, we're not currently selling Mario Kart. That doesn't come out for a week. And I was like, what? Now, realistically, you can come across the same thing with toys. Every now and then, something will break street date and they won't sell it. That being said, toys are a lot easier on the manipulation scale of the fact that sometimes they do come out and they go into the stores and they're out a week before they're actually supposed to be out or whatever, or like even further before. And so what? You can buy them. Well, there's another part to this. And I'm going to have to blur a little bit of my screen or knock it out or whatever. But that's to basically protect my credit card and stuff like that. But I want you to see this because I want to talk about this a little bit more in depth. So this is what I am talking about. These are my pre-orders. Now, this is just from Big Bad, okay? And this is a big part of what I have been talking about, what I tried to explain. The street date for this is second quarter 2025. Still some time, we'll leave it alone. The street date for this, however, is May. Well, to give you an idea, they're not out of time. It's the 15th of May. It's very possible that this may still come out. But you'll notice this isn't a street date like a video game where it's like June 15th. No, this is just May. And maybe it will come out. That's not a guarantee. And a lot of these kinds of places, they take your money when the thing comes out, not beforehand. And this can be a problem. Because this thing right here that says that it was coming out in May, it's been pushed back twice. Actually, it's been pushed back about 5 times. But in terms of recent, it's been pushed back twice. So, do I trust that as the time that I'm going to get it? No, not anymore. I don't. Also, both of these figures, these Conan figures that are coming from Super 7, they also have been pushed back. May was not their original time, which means now they're falling on a month that I was not prepared for because I had planned to get them later, actually. I think these actually moved back. Going further from that, these are fine. These were always in May. However, this is wild right here. See, this Superman was pushed back to May. How do I know that? Because this Superman and that Supergirl came out at the same time. I ordered them at the same time as a couple other people, and other people from other places already got theirs. But in terms of street date, it very much depends on when your guy gets it and when they get it to you. And there's no guarantee as to when this is. Like, that's the problem with doing things in terms of street date for toy collecting, because it doesn't work the same. It's not like you go to Walmart or some other place along those lines and you know for a guarantee that you are going to nail that street day, that you're going to go on May 22nd and the game will be out because that's when it comes out. That's not a guarantee. And I'm not talking about not just having stock. Like, other people have already got that Superman. And there's a very real possibility that I might be able to go to a place like, say, GameStop, and he's on the shelf right now. But he's never come in or been sent out ever in terms of this. And going a little further than that, I got a notice today that one of these figures is being processed. And this is what made me want to come in and talk about this. Because you might be able to dispute all of these other things and say, well, Bill, things get pushed back, that's a thing, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. But what about this guy right here? See this? This guy here? This is Terror Claw's Skeletor. And I received a notice today that he is processing. They're going to take money from me for him in the next day or two. Now, I don't know if you're noticing, but this guy comes out in June. In June. So I purposely planned to have my money set for June to pay for him. And now I'm getting notice that along with all these other figures that have been moved to May, he is now coming out earlier in May. And that can be devastating. So, editing Bill, I have to put this in here. This happened to me today, and it's just another part of this whole conversation that I wanted to put in. Look, this Hulk, I just got a message that said that this Hulk is processing right now. This Hulk wasn't even supposed to hit my card or even be a thing until July. So this is an even bigger thing. I'm talking about things like in June where you could have maybe argued, Bill, that's like 2 weeks away. It's not really that big of a deal. I would still argue that it is kind of a big deal because you cannot trust street dates on toys. You can't do it. Not the same way that you trust it with other products. If a video game took your money, or if you pre-ordered a video game, right? And it said this video game comes out July 17th. And you said, great, that'll be perfect. Then all of a sudden you get home and it's literally May 15th. And on May 15th, all of a sudden that game just took your $70 and you weren't expecting it. So like you get an email that says, hey, your game released. And you're like, wait, what? And you have a bill that's paid, you have a bill you got to pay or a thing you got to do, and now all of a sudden you're just down $70 because it came out of nowhere. I'm lucky because I have a very specific system that I use to make sure that my money is allocated in certain ways. But like, if you don't, and all of a sudden this guy shows up, like, he's not due till July, at least by what they're telling me. And there he is. And now he's a hit. Like, that's it. Sorry to inform you that you now owe us $65 out of nowhere that you weren't expecting for another 2 months. That's another 4 paychecks. You had 4 paychecks to go that you could have put back $10 at a time. Now, no. He's right here in May, along with everything else that's in May that ended up moving back to May or coming into May. You can't trust pre-orders in toys the way that you can trust them in other collecting hobbies. It doesn't work that way. That's what I'm talking about. It can absolutely wreck your bank account if you are not paying attention. Now, luckily, I have one card, and we've talked about this. I have it tied to this kind of stuff. If you don't shop that way, if you tie this all into your main card, like your debit card, it's simple. you swipe it, you keep under the idea, hey, I know this is coming out next month, or I've got 4 months to basically put back the $30 or whatever. I'll be more than fine. It's toys. But you would be shocked how quickly 30 and 30 and 30 and 40 and 45 and 30 and 25 all add up because they come out either earlier than the street date actually said or later than the street date actually said. And it can absolutely destroy you if you are not careful. My best advice for this is to have a card that is separate for this kind of thing. Even if you've got to do something like you go to a Walmart or a Target or something and you buy one of those cards and you purposely put 400 on it or whatever. And then you, of course, put all your pre-orders on that card. Now, if anything ever happens, if your card gets stolen or something like that, yeah, you lose money. But at the same time, you don't lose your main card. If their server gets hacked, you don't lose your main card. And if you get into some kind of trouble, you know that you can't go over budget. It's not tied to like your debit card. You won't find yourself in a spot later on where all of a sudden 15 items fall all at the same time that were not supposed to fall at that time. And now all 15 items hit you. And if you weren't paying attention, this is coming out of your main bank account. That could be bad. It could be very bad. This is not meant to be a long video. I just wanted to come in and kind of expand on what I was trying to explain. The street dates for toys are unreliable in a way that is different than any other collection thing I have ever done. I have collected massively in video games. I have collected massively in comic books. I have collected massively in music. And all three of these things had reliable street dates for the most part. I'm not saying weird things don't happen, but for the most part, they were always reliable. And toys, in my experience, is actually the flip of a coin, man. It says it's coming out in May, flip the coin. Good luck. And sometimes it doesn't even give you that. You could order a figure that isn't coming out till next year in March, and then all of a sudden it comes out 2 months earlier or 3 months later than that. You really don't know a guarantee. Some companies, figures and lines, do it better than others. But some figures and lines are like, well, not to try to call anything out, but Mythic Legions. Like, that is the first Mythic Legions figure that I will ever purchase. Because I have a rule about that. If I'm going to get into a line, I pick the figure that speaks to me, I buy it, I wait, I test it. If that speaks, if that the one that spoke to me that said, Bill, this is one you need, and then it works for me, then you have my attention. If you fail that first entrance into the line, I might just be done. And that does suck. Because sometimes I do miss out. And sometimes those figures, that line may miss out on my money. But it is a rule that I hold to pretty hardcore, actually. And it might not be a bad idea to get a couple videos out here specifically talking about some of my collection rules. Sometimes they're good rules, sometimes they're bad, but I've learned to live by them, and it's helped me a lot. Anyways, guys, that's all. I just wanted to put a little more into this video topic, explain it a little better, and maybe at least, in the very least, give you some sort of visual indication of what I was talking about. But I'm going to get out of here. Take it easy.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.